chapter 14, verse 8 of Bereshit. So, Vayetze Melch Sdom, Melch Amorah, Melch Admah, Melch Tzvayim, Melch Bela Yitzhar. So these five kings, the king of Sodom, Amorah, Admah, Tzvayim, Bela, which is Zoar, Vayarchu Itam Milchama, and they made a war with the four kings, Be'emek HaSidim, in the valley of Sidim. Rashi does not comment on that. Pasuk Tet. Et Kedar Omer Melch Elam, Betidal Melch Goyim, V'Amrafel Melch Shinar, Maryoch Melch Alasar. These are the four kings. Arba Melchim et Chamisha. Four kings against the five kings. So Rashi says, because I guess Rashi is bothered by why did the Torah need to tell us that it was 4 against 5? We could have counted up on our own. So Rashi is telling us that even though it was 4 against 5, Alpha became Natzlua Muatim. The fewer kings were victorious. To tell us that they were mighty warriors, but yet still Abraham was not afraid to pursue them. Follow this, Ben?
Yeah.
I think we have a birthday coming up in your household next week, right?
Very good. Every day, yeah.
It's a big number.
It's Rachel's, and I think I'm not supposed to talk about it.
Okay. I will never.
Well, she's actually not particularly sensitive. It's a nice one.
I won't tell. 20.
Then it says in the pasuk, the Emek HaSidim, and the valley of Sidim, Be'arot Chemar, was full of these Chemar wells. We'll see what Rashi says there are. Why do we need to know that? And the king of Sodom and Amorah fled, and they fell there. And those who remained, fled to the mountain.
Were they killed?
They fell means that they died. They died. Okay. What does that mean? Rashi says, Be'arot Chemar. These are, how does Rabbi Steinzel translate Chemar? Wells of what? Rashi says, Be'erot Harbe Ayusham. There were many wells there. Shenotla Misham Adama. And they took the earth, Latit Shel Binyan, for construction. So they took wells from there which had earth in them. What does that mean? Why would you take earth from a well? Isn't that the ground? How does Rabbi Steinfeld translate this? You have read it? Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't understand why you need a well for earth. I guess there's like some type of mineral.
We usually the tomb is like a coal, associated with coal.
I don't know.
I think that's right. It's a mineral. It's like a coal. Yeah, it's not super precious, but yes.
Midrash says Shayatit Mubabahem, that the clay was kneaded in the wells, Vinas and Nes, and a miracle took place in Melch Sodom, Sheyatza Misham, that the king of Sodom had fallen in there, but he survived miraculously. Lefisha ayu be'umos miktasan shelo ayu ma'aminim shenitzo avram me'orkazdim mikivshan ha'esh kivin sheyatzu zem min ha'chemar aminu ba'avram u'mafreya. So the well was very, I guess, hot. There was a fiery substance in the well, and so therefore the Midrash tells us that the king of Sodom fell into the well and he came out alive. And the miracle was just done in order to demonstrate that Abraham also had survived the fiery furnace. Interesting. The footnote here says, because why would we attribute that to Abraham necessarily? So the Ramban says that the non-believers attribute the miracle to Abraham's God rather than to the king of Sodom's God, because the miracle took place when Abraham passed by the king, who immediately upon his rescue went to pay his respects to Abraham, or because the miracle took place when Abraham looked into the well. Okay. Anyway, Hera Nasu, that they, by the way, that's That's not a popular miracle. Some of these miracles in the Bible are popular that we know about, the ones that are mentioned. This one's less popular, that the king of Sodom was saved from a fiery well.
It almost sounds like
bad guy. He's a bad guy, that's all.
But he was saved from miraculous.
Why save a bad guy?
So it was just to help Avram. What were you saying, Ben? Not this Ben, that Ben.
The description in Rashi, if I understand correctly, the well with the clay, it sounds like quicksand. It sounds like it's kind of sucking you in.
So it's a type of quicksand.
It has that feeling, right? That there's mud, the bitumen, etc. So that
what is bitumen?
Some kind of mineral. I don't know exactly.
It's actually cold.
What?
The cold
Bitumen.
What is it, Bitzal?
So it's a mineral.
Do you work with it today? Do people still work with it?
Yeah.
Bitumen, he says.
So that was used for producing pitch, the footnote.
So it's like
you guys know what pitch is.
The word
tar.
bituminous is like tar.
Yeah.
Bituminous.
Bituminous.
Okay. It's dark brown or black, semi-solid or liquid, thermoplastic mixture of hydrocarbons derived from natural processes.
Gotcha.
Hydrocarbon mixtures.
Okay, so it's a mineral. Okay, then they fled to the mountain. Those who survived. All right. Okay, we'll skip that Rashi. We skip the ones that are grammar. Pasuk Yud Aleph. Vayichu. It's called Rechush, Sodom, V'Amorav. It's called Acham V'Yelecha. And so these 5 kings took all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food, and they left. Rashi, nothing. Pasuk Yud Bet. Vayichu et Lot v'et Rechusho. And they took Lot and his possessions. Ben Achi Abraham. He's the son of Abraham's brother. Vayelechu. And they left. V'hu Yoshev Bisdom. And Abraham was living in Sodom. By the way, and so now this is relevant to our situation in the world today, because now Lot is taken captive. V'hu Yoshev Bisdom. Mi garam ozot. So why does it mention this? What caused this for Lot to be captured? Because Yeshivato B'Sdom. The fact that he chose to live in Sodom around these people caused this to happen. Vayavoa Palit, and the Palit means like the survivors, the refugees. So the Palit, the person who survived, came. Vayagelu Avram ha'ivri, and he told Avram the Ivri. So this is interesting that this is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time Avram is called an Ivri. First time that Avram Ivri is called his first time, and he comes from the Aver, the other side, or Ivri is Hebrew today, but then it means he was called Abraham, the one who came from Mesopotamia. He was dwelling in the plains of Mamre, Ha-Amori, the Amorite, Achi Eshkol, Achi Aner. Mamre was the brother of Eshkol and Aner. V'heim Bali Brit Avram, and they were part of a covenant with Abraham. So this is so powerful because you'll see why is Abraham called the Ivri, and this is like the definition of what it means to be a Jew, because he cared about his kinsmen. So that's why they're making a point that he cared for Lot. So the first time a person is given a description associating with our nation, it's because he cares with somebody else. He cares deeply for somebody else from that nation. What does Rashi said? What does Rashi say? Who is the Palit? What?
Oh.
Yeah, but so, right, Betzal was, of course, correct. But the interesting thing is Rashi says, Rashi is going to say that this refers to Og. But Rashi doesn't just say it refers to Og. He says, Lefi Pshuto, that this is the simple explanation that this is a reference to Og, Shepalat, Menamnochama, because he had escaped from the war. Now, this is, how can you say that this is the Pshat?
That's so simple.
This is Og lives in the time of Moshe. And Rashi says this is a simple literal explanation. And who's
He
a
hung on to the
survivor
teva,
here?
right?
What? Yeah. Well, let's see what he says here. The simple explanation is that this is Og. This is what it means when it says in Devarim that only Og survived from Yeterat Rephaim. Vizel Nishar. So that's why Og is called the one who is from the Nisharim here. Shelo argu Amrafel v'chaverav kishiku Rephaim b'ashrot karnaim. That they didn't kill, that Amrafel and his friends didn't kill Og. So that's the Rashi says that this is the simple literal explanation, which is ironic because it seems to be very, very far from the literal explanation. I don't see a footnote here explaining that. But Midrash, but then Rashi says that's from the Tanchuma. Midrash Bereshit Rabbah says, Zeh Og, that this is Og, Shapat Midora Mabel. That Og had survived the generation of the flood. Vizel miyeter Rephaim means to say he survived from the remaining Rephaim, as it states, and Nephilim ayu ba'aretz, mitkavein sheyareg Avram v'Yisa et Sarah. So Lot had survived the flood, and the Rephaim are called giants. Og had survived the flood, and he comes from and it says he survived from the Yeter Rephaim in Devarim, and the Rephaim are described as giants, and the Nephilim are giants early in the end of Parshas Bereshis. So Og is somebody who was from the giants. How did he survive the flood? He held on with his fingertips, like Tom Cruise, to the edge of the ark. As the water was raging, he survived by holding on for 40 days. And why did he come to tell Abraham? Because he knew Abraham would respond. So so therefore, he wanted Abraham to get killed trying to rescue Sarah.
So I read that Rashi in Parshas Noah when they said that Og and the Lubavitch Rebbe's Chumash comments on it. But what it doesn't comment on is why was Og saved? In that, if Hashem's looking to really reboot the world, is it like supposed to be some type of evil that will always be? And like, what does Og represent, and why was he saved?
That's an excellent question. Meaning to say, why did Hashem want to save Og?
It doesn't make, if Hashem's looking to wipe out the world.
Yeah, why does it's a question on the Midrash. Why does the Midrash want to say that Og survived? I never thought about that question. Did you hear anything?
I think this gentleman supplied the correct answer.
Which gentleman? Seth?
Seth?
He was.
I said that
to remind you.
But we had evil. But Noah's children were wicked. We have Ham, we have Canaan. We have wickedness coming straight from Noah. We don't need the other wickedness.
We do.
I mean, we have enough wickedness. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very good question. I hadn't thought of it, but it's a stark kasha. To explain why we don't all look alike, maybe I don't know.
We needed the tall giants for the later stories in the spies. I mean, that's a different family.
Yeah, but that's different because Og was not part of Canaan.
Different family.
Yeah. I don't know. We have to do some research here. Research means I call a few of my friends.
When was the football giants? When was the baseball giants?
Okay, but so anyway, so they came to Abraham and they told him. Rashi says, Ivri Shebami Aver Anar. He's called the Ivri because he comes from the other side of the river. Rabbi Soloveitchik has a whole piece on Joseph when Joseph is referred to by the butler when he tells Pharaoh that there was a man in the prison who heard the dream. It was a Hebrew slave, right? That's how he's referred to. Let's see, go over here, Parashas Miketz, to see the exact expression. Miketz, he says, Shamitanu Nar Ivri Evet. There was with us an Ivri. So Joseph is also called an Ivri. Rabbi Soloveitchik says that why are the Jews called Ivri? Because the Jews, Ivri means the other side. It means that we're always like apart from society. We have to be a voice of consciousness, a voice of, a prophetic voice. We're not fully integrated into the rest of the world. We're always apart. That's the Jews' role in the world. And so that's why they hate us. Yeah. But that's the role of the Jew. The Jew is to be an Ivri. Yeah. Baalei Bris Avraham. And these people, Mamre, Eshkol, and Amner, they were members of a covenant with Avram. Shekartui Mubris. He made a covenant with them. Excuse me. Alternatively, Davar Acher Sheisilu Eitza Alamila Kamoshim First B'Makom Acher, that they were the ones, or Mamre was the one who gave him advice to circumcise. So that's why it says Baalei Brit. They told him, go ahead and get the bris. So now we have a pasuk that's controversial. Mayishma Avraham kinishpa achiv, and Abram heard that his brother was captured. Vayarak es chanichav. Well, let's see. So they translated here as he armed his initiates. Some say like he girded his loins. What does it mean? Yulidei Beso. He took the youth of his house, Shmona Asar Shlosh Meot, 318 men, Vayirdof Adan, and he pursued them to Dan. So let's see what Rashi says here. Vayarak, what does it mean? Vizariz, he armed. V'chein varikoti achreim achrechem charev. I'll draw the sword after you. Ez dayin b'charbi alechem. Rashi is giving examples. I will arm myself with a sword against you. Chein arik charbi. I'll arm myself with a sword. Chein varak chanit uskor. Arm yourself with a spear. Chanichav shechinech otan mitzvot. He girded them for mitzvot. He took the youth of his house, meaning to say, Vu Ashon Hatchalas Knisas Adam. Chanoch is like chinuch, to educate. It's a person's beginning to educate. Okwila umnus, or to learn us craft. Shuatilu amodba. And so to chanoch onar, chanukat hamizbeach, chanukat beito. So basically, it says, Vayorak et chanichav, he armed the youth. Shmona Asar, what does it mean? Rabbeinu Amru, the rabbis say Eliezer Levado, that the 318 just refers to Eliezer, a servant. Uminyan Gematria Shel Shmo. That refers to his numerical value. And he pursued these kings until Dan. Rabbeinu Amru, Adan, Shamta Shashkocho, there he lost his strength, Sherash Atidim Banav Lamit Shamego. Because in the time of Book of Kings, they built a calf there. But the Talmud in Nida, or Nadarim, Talmud in Nadarim says that why did Hashem, in the next chapter we're going to see, and Hashem punished Avraham, that he was, that his offspring were going to go into exile for 400 years. And the Talmud asks, why was Abraham's offspring punished to go into exile for 400 years? And they give 3 reasons, and the 3 reasons are taken from this chapter, certain things Abraham did in this chapter. And the first of those reasons are that it says in the Gemara that he put an ongaria on Talmidei Chachamim, that he drafted the Torah scholars into the battle. Because here he took the men of the yeshiva. He had a yeshiva in his house, and he took the yeshiva and he took them into battle. And so that's what some want to say, that that's the reason why he went into exile. And so therefore, people want to say that from here we see that yeshiva bachrim should not go into battle. And we'll say here now we have this unprecedented unity amongst the people of the Jewish people now, and you see that yeshiva students from the Haredi community are signing up. There's a few days ago they said 2,000 had signed up, that the Haredim are entering the draft. This is actually incredible. Like there's never been anything like that.
Why do they call Lot brother?
What?
They call, according to this, Lot was Abraham's brother. He was his nephew. Why do they call him brother?
He's actually referenced a few times as
brother
and nephew in different parts of the Torah. By Yishlach was the first time I think he's referenced as nephew actually. And there's a Rashi that says
no. Here he's called the nephew.
Yeah, but there are other times where he's
like
right. It's like a more of a global like that's the
relative, like he called achi.
Yeah, exactly.
It's expression. It's like, hey, my buddy. You know what I'm saying? But it's like a relative, like my cousin. Yeah, generic, right? Okay. So and he divided against them at night. He and his servants. And he struck them down. And he pursued them to Chova asher mismoa Damasek. He pursued them until Chova, which is small Damasek. We'll see what small. Small usually means left. We'll see what it means here. So they say Chova. So what does that mean? She says according to the simple meanings, Saras and Mikra. The verse has to be read opposite. Means to say and he and his slaves divided up against them at night. Like people who pursue who divide up after those who are being pursued. Like they pursue one to here and one to here. Meaning to say, even though it became dark, they didn't stop pursuing them. And they went all the way up until Chova. Rashi says, Shenecha kalayla, the night was divided. The first half of the night, Nasu Nes, a miracle happened. And this is another beautiful Rashi. A miracle happened, the night was cut in half. So meaning to say they divided the night. That Abraham was given protection, that the night would be protected, but he didn't need the full protection. So he just needed the first half, and the second half was given to us after the Exodus. Chova, ein makom sheshmo Chova. Rashi says there's no place that's named Chova. V'dan kora Chova. But the Torah calls the place of Dan Chova, al shem avodah zara shatid al yochem. That's where they're going to eventually worship idolatry there. What is the next verse? Vayetze melech Sodom lekrato. And the king of Sodom went out to greet him. What happens there? Oh, I skipped a pasuk. Vayashav is called Rachush, and he saved all the Rachush. Nagam aslo tachiv, and also Lot his brother Rachusho, his sheep, and he also brought back Lot and all of his assets. Nagamas and Hashem v'asam. He saved the women and the people. You can imagine when people read this in Israel this week, people are going to say, let's have a reenactment of this, that Tzahal should rescue all the soldiers and all the kidnapped people. Verse 17. There's no possible. There's no Rashi on 16. And the king of Sodom went out to greet him after return from striking Kedar Omer and the kings that were with him, and they met at Emek Shaveh, the valley of Shaveh, which is the valley of the king. It's ironic because we know what happens. We know that the king of Sodom and all of his men are going to be killed. So all the people Abraham just saved, we know because we've read this book before that they end up being killed. But you have to read this as though you're reading it for the first time, that Abraham saved Sodom. So verse 17, Emek Shavekach Shemo, it's called the Flat Valley. Ketar Gumo, Lameshar Mafna, Panoimi Lanot Mikol Machshal. There was no trees there. Emek HaMelech, the valley of the king, Beit Ris de Malka, the king's area of a ris. Beit Ris Echad, 1 square ris, Shloshim Kanim, which is 30 measuring rods. Shayim Yuchad Melech, designated for the king, L'Tzachek Shem. So this is a place for the king to play there. Midrash Agadah, the Midrash says it means Emek Shushvu Sham Kol Umot, a valley where all the nations were equal. And Abraham ruled over them. And Nasi Elohim, as a prince of God, Ulkatzin, and a officer. Malki Tzedek, what's Malki Tzedek? That's the next pasuk. Malki Tzedek Melech Shalem. Malki Tzedek was the king of Shalem. Hutzi Lechem v'Yayin. He brought out bread and wine. V'hu Kohen le'El. And he was the Kohen. He was a priest to God Most High. What does Rashi say? Malki Tzedek, Rashi says, Midrash Agadahu Shem ben Noach. The Midrash says that this was Shem. And he brought out bread and wine. So Malki Tzedek brought out bread and wine. Rashi says, Kacho Simu Yigei Melchama. That's what you do for people who are tired from war. V'herolo she'ein b'libo alav al sha'arag banav. And he's telling Abraham that he wasn't upset that he killed his children. What do you mean he killed his children? So the Midrash says that Kedara Omer was the grandson of Shem. So Melchizedek made peace with him. Midrash Haggadah Ramazlo al Menachos val Sachim sheyakrivu Shem banav. He was hinting him to the fact that your descendants are going to bring offerings of bread and wine there. Vayivarcheu vayomar, and Melchizedek blessed him, and he said, Baruch Avram Lokel Oyon Konei Shemayim v'Aretz. Blessed God, blessed Abraham to the utmost God. Konei Shemayim v'Aretz, maker of heaven and earth. Kamo Oseh Shemayim v'Aretz, one who makes the heaven and earth, because he made them, he acquired them to be his. Okay, Asher Migain Baruch Elyon, blessed the upper God, Asher Migain Serecha B'Yadecha, who delivered your foes into your hand, Vayitein Lo Ma'aser Mikol, and Abraham gave him a tenth. Rashi says, Asher Migain, Asher Iskir, who handed over V'cheina Magencha Yisrael, when I hand you over Israel. Vayitein lo Avram Ma'aser Mikol Asher lo Fi Shaya Kohen. So Abraham gave him a tenth. All right, we'll stop here. We'll daven mincha now. We'll stop here. Yeah, shakoach.
I think the part about